Next, I'd like to welcome Simon Kidston from Lithium Plus, Non-Executive Director, and he's talking to us about Australian lithium for a clean energy future based large in the Northern Territory, I believe.
Thanks very much, Chris. Look, I think it's fair to say that until recently, Lithium Plus has flown under the radar, but that is changing, momentum is building, and that follows some spectacular drill results we've lodged with the ASX, and I think it's really just a start in my view. We've got a lot of news flow to come. So, all right, so let me tell you about Lithium Plus. It really is high impact lithium exploration. We've got a strategic land package in one of the hottest lithium fields in the country. Importantly, this land package was acquired back in 2018, and that's significant because that was before the current lithium land rush. We had, I guess, the pick of the tenements, and at that time there was only one other player active in this area, Core Lithium, unknown in the capital markets with a $20 million market cap. Since then, they've gone on to produce from their first mine, and they've demonstrated real value can be created out of the Bino field with a market cap today exceeding $800 million. So we're following in their pathway. We're focused on Bino, and what's phenomenal about this location is its proximity to Darwin, the port, and all of that infrastructure. We've got a sealed road. We've got workers that can go home and sleep in their hotel at night. Phenomenal infrastructure. Great advantage to produce a low-cost mining operation. On this map, you can see our tenements depicted here in brown and red, and you'll note straight away that we surround Core Lithium's granted mining lease on three sides. We've got the same geology, we're following the same program that they've done to create phenomenal value. So today, I'll talk about two projects. Firstly, our first discovery, which is called Lay, and then secondly, I'll talk about our active drilling campaign at the King's Landing. And all of this is located within a very short distance from each other. So if we look at the investment highlights, I really do think location is key. 45 kilometres from the Port of Darwin, proximity to that infrastructure produces great economics and low-cost mining. We have phenomenal geological prospectivity. It's consistent with our neighbour Core Lithium, and Core, interestingly, is drilling right to our boundary. So that tells us something about our prospectivity. We have been super active with drilling. We've got 2 rigs drilling 24/7. That means we've got a lot of news flow and a lot of announcements to update the market on. And finally, I think we've got the team that can execute on this strategy, led by our founder and chairman, Dr. Bin Guo, considered by many to be a guru in the lithium field, joined by myself, who's got a track record in the commercial and finance space, having recently built a $1 billion business in the renewable energy space. In terms of our corporate snapshot, I think the first thing to highlight here is the share structure is very tight. 43% of the shares on issue are escrowed for 12 months. So that means that any announcement we do make, the market reacts, and we're seeing that recently with our current share price performance. We also have a very significant shareholder, 9% shareholder from the biggest battery manufacturer in the world. CATL is without a doubt the global leader in the battery space, and they've chosen to partner with us, and clearly they're hungry for lithium, and I believe that presents a phenomenal opportunity for us to leverage those relationships in terms of low-cost finance for developing the mine. Today, our market cap is a modest $40 million. I think if you look at what Core has done over the last 4 or 5 years, it tells you that good exploration programs on good ground has the potential to unlock value. We're beginning to see momentum in our share price. The news flow over the next couple of weeks and months, I believe, will continue that trend in a positive direction. So this is the first discovery I'll talk about. There's only 2 things I'm going to tell you. This is the first one, which is Lay. It really is very, very exciting, and it's proving to be a high-grade deposit. Last week or the week before, we intercepted 127 metres of mineralised pegmatites. I believe that's the biggest mineralised pegmatite in the Bino field ever, and it's given us great heart to follow this up with a very aggressive drilling campaign. Up until that announcement was lodged with the ASX, the previous record was delivered by Core Lithium, 119 metres at their BP33 deposit, which is currently progressing towards an underground mining operation. That's less than 1.5 kilometres from this deposit, and I believe the potential that Core have demonstrated at BP33 has a very good chance of being replicated here at Ley. This is high-grade, thick intercepts. So just calling out some of these numbers. This is a cross-section. You can see that we've now got multiple intercepts or intersections into this deposit. In fact, what we have is 2 parallel pegmatite dikes. So some of these numbers, 40 metres at 1.6, 39 metres at 1.4. In the world of lithium, that's considered high grade. And we're very excited. We're eagerly awaiting the results from the lab from the latest hole, the 127 metres, which clearly demonstrates to us that as we get deeper, this thing gets fatter. And what we're seeing and what we're observing from the visual interpretation is it looks like the grade is getting better. So this is very exciting. We're drilling into that right at the moment. We'll have some more news to say to the market as soon as we get some results. But this is capturing the headlines in the lithium space. A lot of attention is focused on the potential of this deposit. So what does that mean? How are we going to commercialise and monetise this? Well, the first step is to produce our maiden JORC resource. We're on track to do that by December of this year. That will be an important market in the ground for us to establish the size of this deposit. It will be high grade, and we're devoting sufficient resources to drill it out now aggressively so we can meet that deadline of the fourth quarter this year to publish that report. So to achieve that, we're doing 5 diamond holes additionally to what we've done in the past, 7 RC holes. Importantly, they're all funded holes. We've got $8 million of cash in the bank, so we're funded to aggressively drill this out and deliver that maiden JORC resource. Okay, so the second project I want to talk to you about is what we call King's Landing. This is literally only 5 or 10 kilometres north of the Ley discovery. This is all very, very compact, this lithium field, and we are in the heart or the guts of this lithium pegmatite field. In fact, you can see the Core Lithium's granted mining list here in blue. I think we're literally hundreds of metres or a kilometre from the Grants open pit, 2 or 3 kilometres north here from the BP33 mine. What we've identified from the work on the ground is there's a significant number of pegmatites that come to surface. At surface, they're weathered, but they're a good starting point from which we can commence our exploration. So calling out some numbers here, if we look at, say, Jewellers, we've got a 500 metre strike of outcropping pegmatite. That's quite big in the world that we live in. Perseverance, more than 100 metres, and Jenny's 250 metres in terms of strike. So in terms of context, I believe the longest strike at surface for the core deposits was around 300 metres. So they over time have identified more than 31 million tonnes across a number of deposits. We believe there's certainly something very interesting for us to follow up on. Well, we're drilling that at the moment. Last week we announced that we hit 19 metres at 1.5%. So that gives us strong encouragement to keep testing these outcropping pegmatites to determine the extent of mineralisation, but certainly very, very exciting. This map sort of illustrates the work we've done over the last 12 months to identify our targets. We've done a systematic survey, more than 4,000 soil samples. We've done the ground penetrating radar. We've analysed the historical workings and obviously looked at where the pegmatites outcrop. And what that work has done is identified over 20 targets, high priority targets that we're going to follow up on. The work at Core next door has demonstrated that in their case, 50% of the pegmatites that they intersected on their land was mineralised. So if we take that rough rule of thumb of 1 and 2 can translate into a potentially meaningful deposit, we've got some really, really interesting targets to follow up on here. I'd say there's at least 4 or 5 very attractive targets that we're going to be drilling over the next couple of months, which will really, I think, illustrate the potential this company does have. So in terms of our current program, between now and the end of the year, this company will be super busy. We've got 2 rigs drilling 24/7. One of those is focused on lay infill drilling to produce that maiden JORC resource. The other focused on King's Landing, which will, I think, identify or have a good chance of identifying a second, hopefully a third deposit, which we can continue drilling into next year. So lots of news flow, lots of results, and to date we've been able to demonstrate high grade and what we've been discovering. Just a few words on our cornerstone investor. I think this is important to understand. If you do find something, you've got to be able to commercialise it. That's where the value lies. So bringing on board the biggest battery manufacturer in the world gives us a big advantage. They've invested into the company. They've got a 9% holding. We know they're hungry for lithium. We've not given them any offtake rights at this stage, but we believe they're receptive to negotiating a package which will trade a portion of offtake for mine development funding. So given I've got a finance background, I'm very focused on how we can deliver these projects into production, minimising the issuance of equity. It's a very, very core focus to the philosophy I bring to this business. It's right deposits, good infrastructure, the right partners. You get that combination right, and you can get some explosive value for shareholders. So this relationship was delivered by our chairman, Dr. Bin Guo, who knows their chairman very well. That relationship goes back many, many years, and I believe that gives us a good starting point from which we can negotiate advantageous offtake terms. In terms of the board, I do think it's a proven board. So at the technical level, Dr. Bin Guo, global experience, a great track record, having identified a number of discoveries around the world, working very closely with Bryce Healy, who's the on-the-ground exploration manager. Together, they bring decades of experience in uncovering deposits for the value of shareholders. As I mentioned earlier, my background's commercial, former Macquarie banker, spent the last 10 years building a renewable energy business, which has now got $1 billion of assets on the eastern coast of Australia. So I guess to wrap it up, why should you look at this company? What really makes this company stand up? Well, firstly, its location. Less than 50 kilometres from the Port of Darwin, road, power, accommodation right on our doorstep. That gives us a major advantage in developing a low-cost mine. Secondly, geological prospectivity. We've demonstrated that now with our own drilling, but it's reinforced what's been delivered by our neighbour at Core Lithium. This is a world-class lithium field that we're demonstrating right now. News flow, there's going to be plenty of it. 2 rigs, 24/7 drilling means that we're going to be super active, lots of announcements, which should drive interest and drive the share price. And finally, I mentioned the relationship with CATL. They're the global leader in the battery space. They're partnering with us to hopefully unlock a lot of value for our shareholders. So thank you very much.
Questions for Simon? No questions for Simon. The Core Lithium tenement package, why didn't they peg the ground around them?
So they were picking up this ground around the same time that our founder picked up the ground, and I think that they had their hands full. They were a small company at that time. They hadn't cracked the geological code, which they've now demonstrated. So I guess being opportunistic, we could get phenomenal tenements at the same time as they did, and it's now, we're just following their footsteps a couple of years later, following their proven exploration model.
And how long does the 8 million last you?
Well, we're super aggressive, but we're fully funded. So everything we're doing this year is funded, and we're funded well into next year. So I'd expect, based on our recent share price performance, to unlock a lot of value between now and our next funding event.
Okay, thanks Simon, cheers.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Cheers.